Good day, senior living community. In the house, we've got a special guest. So, Andrea came with Bonnie. Bonnie knows how to get here, so she escorted over here. Bonnie is not in the podcast, but she's over there keeping an eye on us. So, Bonnie, hello. Okay. Okay. So, Andrea, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Well, my name is Andrea, and I am a Community Relations Director with Gaines Park Senior Living, and we serve the senior community.
Awesome. So, as a community, what is your main focus like in your role with Gaines Park? What would that be?
My main focus is introducing our community to people within the community.
Mm-hmm. So, what would now that obviously, when you're talking about connecting with the community, how did you get into that type of role? What was the reason, and why did you get into doing what you're doing right now?
Well, I initially, several years ago, started as a occupational therapy assistant, and I worked in a rehab clinic in AL memory care communities. And then I also worked in home health. So I've already been working with the senior community, and I recently moved out of state where I partnered with Care Patrol. And what they did was they helped seniors find communities to move into. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I enjoyed advocating for seniors, learning about their stories, and just helping them find the best fit possible. So now we've returned to Georgia, and I wanted to get involved working in a community and still advocating for seniors, but helping spread the word about the community, to outside resources.
Yeah, it's so important because when because I've lived here almost 2 years, and what I hear is they don't know what they don't know. And knowing the communities, knowing like who's behind it, everybody can look at a website. I mean, you can make a website look pretty, but the leadership behind a community, the type of community is. So when you're helping people navigate through the maze of senior living, what have you found, like in your short time as community manager? What has been the challenge that you see just from the short time that you're in this role?
Well, I think the challenge would be just getting families to understand, like maybe the progression of dementia. Maybe if their family member is living on the assisted living side, and we staff within the community understand that, they're starting to have some cognitive issues, educating the family and getting them to understand, that maybe their loved one would be better served in a memory care section of our community.
Yeah, I had a gentleman who was the Georgia director of the Alzheimer's Association, and I was asking him, like, the myth that is out there with people is, okay, mom and dad, or mom or dad, whoever one, they're starting to show signs of it. And what he says that people will say is, well, there's nothing we can do. I mean, hey, mom's declining. And what he said is that's not true. There are now so many more advancements in medical care that there's medications, there's different things that maybe you can't stop it completely, but you can prolong it. So when you the assistance of professionals is so important. Like, what is it like when when you see a person's cognitive ability to go down? What are you thinking about doing as far as, like, how do you assist them in your role, or in, like, with Gaines Park, and because there's a lot of different places out there. How are y'all servicing your seniors?
Well, our focus is truly on preserving their dignity and just helping them still be able to have a sense of purpose
Mm-hmm.
and not just sit in a room, just isolated
Yes.
without any cognitive stimulation. So we
Yeah.
really focus on cognitive stimulation, preserving their dignity, and just, kind of meeting them where they're at in their stage of the
Mm-hmm.
disease.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the numbers were, but he told me some pretty um, eye-opening numbers, that the number of people that are moving into these different stages of Alzheimer's. I have a lady, Donna, who brings me all the papers for the week. And the one thing that's filled out completely in every newspaper is the crossword puzzles. And so it's funny because she goes, I said, well, I'm not a crossword puzzle, so I don't miss it. So she goes, she fills them out religiously because, that cognitive, using that brain, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So are there activities that you have been exposed to that are helpful for people to do on a regular basis that our listeners might be listening to this? Maybe they're not in a home, or they're seeing some things with their mom and dad. What would you say maybe can help in that regard? Is there anything besides crossword puzzles?
Yes. Well, I'm a big proponent of exercise also.
Okay.
And so what I would do when I was on the therapy side is I would actually do like balloon toss with residents.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we tossed the balloon, maybe we had to name an animal, or maybe we had to state a color, or maybe we
Mm-hmm.
were counting out loud, maybe we were counting by threes, anything, just to make them really think.
Yes. Yeah. I know I'm, 67. So I, I've been retraining my brain. And one of the things that they talked about, and, the whole idea of keeping that brain active and, doing little games, like you said, like, naming a character. And I have 10 things that characters. And when I'm trying to remember things, because of all the information that's coming at us, like numbers and all that,
Mhm.
our brain wasn't intended for all this. They say it's intended to think. And so the more we think, the more we use, the more the brain stays active. And like you said, sitting in a room not doing anything, we're going to see a decline. My question to you is like, what in your stage of your career, when did senior living kind of grab you? Was there a loved one? Was there a parent? Was there anything in your life that kind of drew you to senior living?
Not when it comes to like a parent or a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started working, or actually, I was volunteering with my children in their elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And through that volunteer work, I just found that I really had the passion to like help other
Mm-hmm.
people and to advocate for other people. So I decided to go back to school
Mm-hmm.
and get a degree where I could do that. And that's, how I started with occupational therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of morphed into where I'm at today.
Yeah, I had a favorite in occupational therapy because you don't see, like, you see plenty of PTs out there, but you don't see as many OTs out there. And so she was very helpful in training me to do all the kind of things that you have to do. Take your shirt off. Like, there's one day I couldn't get my shirt on, and I just said to her, "Look, I'm not just going to go shirtless the rest of because it was so hard, one hand doing all this stuff, but it was a skill that you had to learn." And we just busted out laughing because I'm trying to learn this new skill, and she's just as patient as can be, because you have to be, because everybody that gets in that position where they lose a certain function has to relearn the basics of function. When you were in your OT mode, what did you enjoy about that part of it? Just that therapy part?
building the rapport with my patients.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have patients that I worked with 3-4 years ago who still contact me.
Really?
I just got a picture yesterday from a gentleman that I worked with, and he was sending me a picture of his grandchild. So, just having that rapport with people.
Yes. Yeah, I said to her name was Emily. I said, you got the best soft skills I've ever seen. And it just kind of like, and I sent her a birthday card, and it's like you develop kind of a connection to your OT because you're at the vulnerable part of your life. Like you're learning all these basic skills that were just common. Now you have to relearn. I mean, you have to learn how to do everything, brush your teeth, comb your hair, all that kind of stuff that you just took for granted. So I guess that does make sense that there's emotionally that you appreciate a person that is helping you through a different situation in your life. So were you like that as a mom, like with your kids? Did you find yourself kind of that's what you did with your kids and growing up? Or
I would advocate for them, but I never did anything for them.
okay.
I wasn't the helicopter mom that did all their school projects.
Yes.
They did it to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
I supplied the supplies they needed to do it.
Yes.
And, they earned their grade. They didn't get the A because I did it or my husband did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, you see a lot of that. They bring that up now because I have a golfer and he teaches high school. And so what he says is what you just said, the helicopter parent. He teaches all the high schools. He's now in Cherokee County. So he's out of college. But he said, I was amazed during COVID how much gets done by the parents. And it was like, we're trying to teach them to be independent, but if we're there kind of being the helicopter, how can they learn? But he said, man, I had no idea how much was going on even at that high school level where they're getting ready to go to college or wherever they want to do. So you better learn independence. And if you don't, it's going to be a mess. But here he is. That was his biggest frustration, is letting the kids learn by themselves. Don't always bail them out of everything. So what would you say as you progressed in the community role? What can our viewers look forward to? Like when you're talking with facilities like myself, like what do you do? Like workshops? Are you doing anything to connect or provide some kind of education for the facilities?
So that is something, I've been with Gaines Park for 2 weeks, and that is something we as a team are starting to implement.
Okay.
And our first event, and I'm very excited about this, is going to be August 15th from 4:30 to 6:30. You do need to reach out to us so we can schedule you in a time slot. But it is going to be dementia training. So what that's going to look like is we have a hospice company coming in who are certified to do this particular type of training. And everybody who participates, we are going to impair their vision, impair their hearing, and impair their sensation when they walk. And then we're going to ask them to do tasks. So they're really what we're trying to do is get them to understand what it's like to have dementia and have somebody speak to you, maybe speak fastly, maybe speak behind you or to the side, and then ask you to do something. And with all those impairments, you're going to get a better understanding of what it's like for somebody living with that disease to actually keep up with what's being said to them and to do the task that's being asked of them to do. So it's going to be a really cool experience.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and we're going to put your information up on the screen in just a few minutes, but I don't know. Christian runs he runs a business, but he's very involved in Cherokee and Cobb County, educating people. And he was telling me, this was just about 2 weeks ago, he went to a similar, like you just described. He said it brought tears to his eyes because we don't know the shoes of a person that's starting to suffer from that kind of cognitive decline. And he said, I just, he's been in this industry for a couple of years, so it maybe longer, I don't remember exactly, but he was such emotionally, what do you want to call it? Emotionally um, drained from that. Just what you said, like they're taking them through, like, here's what it's like. And he was going like, he just said it was the most moving presentation because he never really could see it from the eyes of somebody that's suffering from Alzheimer's until they showed him, like you said, actual going through situations so people can have a better understanding. Because as the kids out here, my mom's 94, and so I notice when I talk on the phone that there's a difference, but we have to be well aware of those signs, like you're saying. So education is so important. I want to put your number up on the screen for our listeners. Would you give us that date again?
It's August 15th from 4:30 to 6:30.
Okay. And Gaines Park is located where?
It's at 1740 Old Highway 41.
Okay. I know there's a car wash over there, right? Yes. Close to the Publix and the Zaxby's. And so if you're on Old 41, look for the car wash and you'll see Gaines Park. So August the 15th, they have to call you to register. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We want to just, make sure that everybody has an opportunity, and it will be limited spacing. Okay. Awesome. And as we wind down, tell our viewers, because this is also on audio, tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you? Well, they can reach out to me at my cell. So you can either call or text at 470-617-4222. Awesome. So, Andrea, what would you say, as we're winding down, what would be the one thing that you want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast that they can learn from this? Don't wait to make a decision to move your loved one into a assisted living or memory care community until it's too late. Give them the opportunity to move in when they're healthy, and they can actively participate in activities and build a life in the new community. So often I hear residents say, I wish I'd done this earlier. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm glad you shared that with our audience, because it's so important to kind of anticipate things. But, it's hard when you start seeing a parent's decline, and it's like, it's not going to get any better. So you have to be proactive in contacting professionals like yourself. So, the worst thing that can happen is, because we have some situations here, and I see it, that not having that ability to function at the highest level, you're doing some things that you're not aware of, and your safety is at risk. So I want to thank you for being a guest on our podcast and for coming over here and sharing with Overture about our neighbors, because we're in the studio over here at Overture. Gaines Park is just right across the bridge. We have a bridge opening up here in just probably a couple of months. So we literally could walk to your place. So that's convenient to be able to have, and we want you guys to be partners with us over here, because I do know this. We don't like to move, and we move into a independent living.
and we're needing assistance, but we're delaying that ultimate. So if you're out there and you can share this podcast with, say, the one of the adult kids, and so you know what to look for when you're out visiting your mom and dad, take action before it gets to a point where their safety is at risk, so you can be proactive in getting them settled in. Because we've seen where people, not everybody's doesn't like change, but when we get older, it's different. We have to be familiar with what we're doing, and so you have to you have to make sure you anticipate mom and dad's, changing needs that are out there. So, Andrea, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming over here and being with us in the Overture studio. Thank you, and we would like to get you back at another time. Okay, good. All right.
We have a September event to discuss.
Okay, good. See, I always do that on the air so I can so you'll commit, and then the community will hear that. Because if I say, Andrew, you come back, and you say no, I said, well, I think there's people in the community that's heard you say you would come back. All right, thanks again. We appreciate you. Thank you.